The last time I spoke to you, I wondered whether Sardis had been luck. One city surrendering changes a ledger. It does not prove a campaign. Then came Tyre. For nearly 200 days, the treasury bled. Every sunrise cost silver. Every sunset cost more. Stone, timber, iron, food, pay. The soldiers counted days. The engineers counted distance. Alexander counted victory. I counted invoices. And every evening, I asked myself the same question. Can any city possibly be worth this much? Battles spend lives. Sieges spend kingdoms. At Tyre, we spent both. Old Tyre was pulled apart for stone. Cedar was cut from the mountains. Workers were gathered from nearby towns. Ships were fitted, engines built, towers raised, then burned, then built again. Every failure had a cost. Every repair had a cost. Even hope had a cost. Harpalus once asked me how much the siege had consumed. I answered with a number. He looked at it, then looked toward the island, and said nothing. That was when I understood. Some expenses are too large even for treasurers to enjoy saying aloud. When Tyre finally fell, the army roared as if the world had ended. Perhaps for Tyre, it had. The soldiers saw victory. The king saw sacrifice fulfilled. The commanders saw the road to Egypt. I saw a harbor, silent, damaged, afraid. Warehouses stood open. Ropes hung loose from empty docks. The smell of smoke sat on the water. A harbor without ships is a strange thing, like a mouth without breath. We had conquered one of the greatest ports in the Mediterranean, and for a moment, it earned nothing. The soldiers wanted reward. I understood them. They had carried stone into the sea, watched friends burn, bled for walls that refused to fall. After such labor, men expect payment. But a harbor is not like a battlefield. Take a shield from a dead man, and the war continues. Empty a warehouse, and tomorrow's ship sails somewhere else. One officer laughed when I said this.
He would protect Phoenician merchants from Macedonian soldiers?
I told him no. I was protecting Macedonian revenue from Macedonian impatience. He did not appreciate the distinction. Few soldiers do. A warehouse emptied today cannot pay customs tomorrow. One soldier becomes richer, the kingdom becomes poorer. That is the difference between loot and income. Loot is loud. Income is quiet. Loot makes men cheer. Income keeps armies marching. For days, nothing moved. Then one ship entered, cautiously. Then another. Then another. No trumpets, no speeches, just sailors lowering ropes, merchants asking questions, dock workers returning to work. A clerk from Sidon came to me carrying tablets. A Cypriot captain asked whether contracts signed under Persia would still be honored. A merchant wanted to know which duties would be collected. Another asked whether his cargo would be seized. No one asked who had been bravest at the wall. Merchants do not trade in bravery, they trade in certainty. That was the day I learned something no treasury in Pella had taught me. Kings can capture harbors. Only merchants can make them wealthy. I had spent my life believing wealth was stored inside treasuries, inside vaults, inside storehouses. Tyre taught me otherwise. Wealth floated on ships, from Cyprus, from Sidon, from the Aegean, from Egypt. Cargo does not care about glory. Grain does not care about speeches. Purple dye does not care which king claims descent from Heracles. Goods move where they are safest, where contracts survive, where harbors are open, where customs officials do not steal too much. A little stealing, merchants expect. Too much, and they sail elsewhere. Every ship entering harbor paid something: docking fees, harbor dues, customs, warehouse charges, market taxes. One payment seems small. Thousands of payments become an empire. For years, I believed Persia ruled the sea because Persia had ships. I was wrong. Persia ruled the sea because Persia held the ports. Phoenician ports, Cypriot ports, harbors where crews were hired, ships repaired, water loaded, grain stored, information exchanged. A fleet is not only wood and oars. A fleet is everything that keeps wood and oars alive. When Sidon submitted, when Byblos submitted, when Aridus submitted, the sea began to loosen from Darius's hand. But Tyre was different. Tyre was not merely a port. Tyre was a memory, a name merchants trusted before my grandfather was born. As long as Tyre stood apart, the sea had not chosen. When Tyre fell, it did.
Alexander had crossed into Asia without command of the sea. That always frightened me. Armies march on roads, but money often moves by water. Supplies move by water. News moves by water. Fear moves by water too. Darius had counted on the sea, on Phoenician ships, on the Aegean, on pressure behind us while Alexander marched ahead. But after Tyre, the balance changed. Ships that had served Persia now served Alexander. Ports that had fed Persian strategy now fed ours. The great king's fleet did not vanish in one battle. It weakened port by port, crew by crew, harbor by harbor. That was the strange genius of it. Alexander did not need to build a new sea. He took the old one. Soon after Tyre fell, Harpalus asked for estimates. Not of the treasure, that was simple. Not of the captives, that was grim but simple. He wanted to know what Tyre was worth now. Now. After the smoke, after the slaughter, after the ships began returning. I opened my tablets, then closed them again. Silver can be weighed, grain can be counted, taxes can be estimated. But how does one measure a harbor? How does one price a sea lane? How does one value the confidence of a captain who chooses your port because he believes tomorrow will be peaceful? There are no neat columns for such things, and yet, those things may matter more than silver. By the time the harbor breathed again, I had changed. Not completely. A clerk does not become wise in one season, but enough. When we left Macedonia, I believed wealth was something you stored. Gold, silver, grain. By the time Tyre fell, I understood wealth could also be something that moved. Ships, cargo, letters, contracts, trust, especially trust. Trust is invisible until it disappears. Then every merchant notices, every sailor hesitates, every cargo becomes late, every price rises, and the treasury begins to feel it. After Tyre, the sea felt different. Not peaceful, never peaceful, but open. Egypt lay south. Beyond Egypt, the heart of Persia. For the first time since leaving Macedonia, I no longer wondered whether we could afford the campaign. That question belonged to the man I had been in Pella, a frightened clerk counting talents by lamplight. Now I wondered something else. How much wealth can one king control before the wealth begins controlling him? The treasury grew richer after Tyre. That much I could measure. What I could not measure was confidence. The confidence of a captain choosing our harbor. The confidence of a merchant signing another contract. The confidence that tomorrow's cargo would arrive. There are no columns in a ledger for such things. Yet I would spend the rest of my life discovering that confidence may be the most valuable asset an empire ever owns. I used to count coins. Then I counted cities. At Tyre, I began counting ships, because ships never lie. When captains trust your ports, they tell you who truly rules the sea, not with banners, not with oars, with their cargo. And after Tyre, the cargo began coming to us.